This is a little bit different than past consolidated municipal, school, and special district elections. This one will be held as an all-mailed ballot election. Under the Assembly Bill legislation 2028, we can conduct 3 of these elections locally. So the presidential next year will go back to the normal traditional polling place. You can request to vote by mail. So this week, you should have received your voter information pamphlet and your sample ballot. If not, it should be arriving sometime this week. So this election, everyone that's a registered voter will receive a vote by mail ballot in the mail, regardless if you requested one or not. Everyone will receive one. So if you haven't received yours they'll be mailed out October 5th, this coming Monday. If you haven't received it by October 16th, give us a call and we will send you a new one, a replacement. They look like this, so don't throw it away. It says official ballot. Inside comes with a prepaid postage paid return envelope that you can put your ballot in and mail it back to us. There's also drop-off locations at every city hall in San Mateo County. It also comes with voter information, 3 steps to voting by mail. There will also be in-person voting options. Starting next Monday, you can vote downtown Redwood City, 555 County Center, and at our office at 40 Tower Road in San Mateo. On Election Day, there will be 32 universal polling places, 1 per city, pretty much. These are not like the traditional polling places. This is where anyone can vote from any city. So if you work in South San Francisco and you live in San Carlos, you can vote in South City or San Carlos or Redwood City. There's no limitation to where you can vote at those universal polling places on Election Day only. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? So just 2 important things about voting by mail. You need to sign your envelope. We check all the signatures for all the ballots that are mailed in with. We check it against your signature that you registered with. So if those signatures do not match, we will call you, we will contact you and arrange for you to come back and sign so that it matches your signature. All the ballots need to be returned by 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 3rd, or postmarked on Election Day and received 3 days after that. So if it's not received by November 6th, then we cannot count it. So postmarked by Election Day, received by November 6th. Lastly, the deadline to register to vote is October 19th, midnight. Postmarks on registration cards are okay, and we also have our website, registertovote.ca.gov, which is the easiest way for us to receive your registration form. So, question?
Yeah, is there a place where voters can get a list of the universal voting spots?
Absolutely. I left brochures on the back table. You can contact us. It's also on our website, shapethefuture.org, the list of all the locations. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
On behalf of the League of Women Voters of South San Mateo County and our co-sponsor in the back with the TV camera, the Mid-Peninsula Community Media Center, I want to welcome you and the candidates to this forum for the Redwood City School District Governing Board. My name is Linda Levis and I'm the moderator. The League of Women Voters is a national nonpartisan volunteer organization of women and men. Our mission is to encourage informed and active participation in government at every level. We do not endorse candidates or political parties. Our interest is in helping voters gain fair and unbiased information in order to make informed decisions. In addition to this forum, I encourage you to use the League of Women Voters website, smartvoter.org. Not only for this election, but for all of the elections that are coming up in November. And we ask everyone to turn off their cell phones, and we'll have questions from the audience later in 3x5 cards. So please raise your hand if you have a question at any time, and it will be picked up by our distinguished question picker-upper, Karen Schwartz.
Thank you. And Linda, may that talk closer to everyone?
I've got to talk into this. Thank you. That sounds better. Each candidate has 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. And then each candidate also has 2 minutes to answer each question. And we have Shirley DeMarais right here in the front, and she keeps a time card, keeps track, and then holds up a little paddle when the time is coming close and then when it's all over. There are 3 candidates to be elected for this school board election, and we have 4 candidates. The candidates are, in order here, Janet Larson, Dennis McBride, Yolanda Padilla, and Elisa McAvoy. Mrs. McAvoy is unable to attend this forum, but she did send in a statement, which I will read at the end of our hearing of the candidates who are here. Then we'll take questions from the audience, and we are ready to begin with our first candidate, Janet Larson.
Hi, I'm Janet Lawson, and I am a lifelong resident of Redwood City. I was born here, and I attended the Redwood City School District, and I graduated from Woodshead High School. I moved away to college, and I returned home and met my husband, and we're raising our family here. So we have 3 little boys that currently attend the Redwood City School District. I have 1 in preschool, and then we have a 1st and 2nd grader that are at our neighborhood school. I serve as the PTA president at our school, and that's been a great opportunity to get to know the community where we live. But then I also serve on the 17th District PTA as the area counselor to the Redwood City PTAs. So I've gotten to interact with the other schools and support those PTA presidents as they support their families and their teachers at those school sites. I am absolutely in love with Redwood City. This is home to me. I serve on the Redwood City Library Board. I am passionate about our public education and literacy and ensuring that all of our students are reading at grade level so that they can succeed beyond high school and through the rest of their lives. And as such, I serve on the board of the Peninsula Literacy Coalition. So we work with some of our centers, or groups that partner with our school district and also with our library. So thank you.
Thank you. Dennis.
So before we start, are we going to get hit with the paddles if we go over?
No, you will not be. Only if you go over.
Okay. Hello, my name is Dennis McBride, and it's been my privilege and honor to serve on the school board for the past 12 years. I'm a resident since 1979. I've been involved in mentoring and helping children for over 40 years. I'm a CPA, I have an MBA, I have a master's in governance from the California School Boards Association. I have over 40 years of community and business leadership. I've demonstrated the ability to work and communicate effectively with diverse groups. I have 2 sons that received a wonderful education from the Redwood City schools, and they're both successful college graduates. I have been married for 37 years to a former special ed teacher. I am running because I view our students as a community treasure. Our mission is more than providing education, it is to change lives. I care deeply about our students' success. School districts are very complex, so you need people that are smart and know what they are doing. What most people don't realize is the Redwood City School District is a $100 million operation, so it's a big, big business. I'm very proud of what has been accomplished over the past 4 years. Given the time limitations, I'll just name a few. Student achievement has risen dramatically. Last April, 750 students were reclassified as English proficient. 4 years ago, that number was 250. This shows that our programs are working. School surveys show greater than 90% satisfaction from parents, students, and staff. One of our schools was awarded the prestigious California Distinguished School Award. We've received numerous state and county local awards for teaching excellence. We have significantly more community partners, which translates to more money and more volunteers. When we were cutting our budgets, we kept art, music, and libraries. Many districts did not. We were one of very few districts in the state that did not cut salaries or have furlough days. And we have the success but while we have the success I mentioned, we still have a lot of work to do, but I do think experience matters, and I'm really proud to continue to work with our teachers, staff, and district administrators. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I get to bank that 5 minutes or 5 seconds?
We'll have plenty of time. Thank you. Yolanda Padilla.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Padilla. Thank you for coming. I am also running for school board, and I am a lifelong resident of Redwood City. My roots run deep in Redwood City School District. My parents, my daughters, and myself are all a product of Redwood City Schools. I had the wonderful opportunity to work for the Redwood City School District for 35 years. In my role as a single parent and an employee, I had the opportunity to belong to many great committees. I was PTA president at Kennedy, for 3 years. I also worked with the Stanford John Gardner Center to implement the first community school in Redwood City. I had the privilege to work with a group of parents who were looking for an education that was creative and outside the box, and we founded Orion Alternative School. I also worked at Taft School as an instructional assistant, and I worked at Selby Lane. The first year they brought bilingual kindergarten to Selby Lane, and were integrating the schools. I worked with Project Family Learning, which was a family-based program where parents came to school at night and learned side by side with their children, and parents transitioned into English. I had the great pleasure of finishing my career at Kennedy Middle School as the office manager, where I worked with a great staff of parents, teachers, students, which we ensured that every student that graduated from Kennedy School had the academic skills and knowledge to have a successful high school career.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to read the candidate statement from Elisa McAvoy. She said she's sorry, and I will speak as though I am Elisa. I'm sorry I'm not able to be at the candidate forum tonight due to a conflict in my schedule. Thank you for being here to learn more about the candidates. For the last 8 years, I've had the honor of serving on the Redwood City School Board. I have always been passionate about education. My father was a teacher. My mother served on the PTA and school board for years. I went to my local public schools kindergarten through 12th grade, and I have a BS and an MS in civil engineering from Stanford University. My husband and I chose Redwood City to live in when we started our family. Both our daughters went to school in the Redwood City School District and received an excellent education, and they are now thriving at Sequoia High School, getting ready for college. I know firsthand how a great education opens the door of opportunity. I joined the Redwood City School Board because I want to help each and every student get an excellent education and be fully prepared for high school, college, and career. During my tenure on the school board, we have increased academic achievement, won federal, state, and local awards for our outstanding programs, increased access to technology, and are leading a transformation to 21st century schools. We have more students than ever being reclassified from English learners to English proficient. More students are receiving high-quality preschool and learning to read at younger ages, which allows students to be successful in school. Our community partnerships are bringing exceptional programs during the school year and the summer for all our children and families. We have more work to do, but I believe we are on the right track. The district is more transparent and accountable to the community than ever. If re-elected, I will continue to listen to your ideas, and I will ensure we use taxpayer money wisely to provide a high-quality education for all students. It's an exciting time in education. We have new state standards, a new funding model, and more local control and accountability. We need board trustees with experience, creativity, and compassion to guide us through these changing times. I have the skills and experience needed. We have much to be proud of. To continue this work, I respectfully request your vote. Please feel free to contact me through my website, elisamcavoy.com, or by calling me at 888-5933. Now, we do have one question here, and I'll start out with this one. And I'm not sure that this question is exactly accurate, so you all may have to rephrase it for me. But the interest is in the recent, in the newspaper recently, the scores for all of the schools were listed and could go online for them. And so I wondered what are the overall scores for the district? Are they called the Common Core tests? Are those what we're talking about here? Thank you. All right. And I realize there's anything you want to say to that subject would be appreciated. And why don't we start with, since Janet started, we'll go with Dennis and then Yolanda and back to Janet. Okay.
So the test scores have just been mailed to the homes. In fact, for the mom in the audience, you probably just received it. It's the first time we've had these test scores. It's a completely different test. The previous test was multiple choice bubbles. The district met, there's different categories. There's met, almost, there's exceeds, met, almost met, and something below. So there's 4 categories. And we're at 40% met, and we have 20% that are just below met, which we think we can get up to met. One of the fundamental issues when you look at, first, you're not supposed to compare with other districts, but I've already gotten calls of people saying, why is Hillsborough at 80% and you're at 40%? And that's because of socioeconomic. It's also because our students don't have access to computers, so they can't practice 4 or 5 times, or if you're in another district, you can. We think the approach we took 3 years ago is the right approach in terms of focusing on collaboration and having students defend their work. And so well, the way I would think of it is, even if I was in Hillsborough at 80%, I would immediately flip and say, what are we going to do for those 20? So for me, it's great we have 40% that are successful, but we need to focus on the 60. And tomorrow night at the school board meeting, we're actually going to have a discussion about the test scores and what we can do to raise the remaining, raise the 20% that are close to being met, and then also work on the 40% that aren't in the almost met. But it's a completely different test, and it's really a baseline. And the test is actually a much more comprehensive test, and it'll give us much better diagnostics, so we can drill down at the student level and determine what each student needs.
First of all, I want to say a student is more than a test score. I realize that our children do not have access to computers like other children have at home, and they're playing with them. So it is difficult for them to be in the same situation as more affluent neighborhoods. We have children that live in poverty. They don't have computers. Some of them don't probably have electricity. But I do want to say that I know that the school district has worked very hard. I've read a lot of literature on these tests, and it is the first year with them, so they're still looking at them and saying that some are taken on iPads, some are taken on computers, so there is a lot of discrepancy in the scoring. So that's what I'm looking at, and I know that our children can be successful, and what I understand is we are getting a lot of hardware. So I'm hoping that this will help our children and be more familiar with the equipment they use to take the tests, and we will do better, and we can do better. Thank you.
I just want to follow up on what Dennis was saying, is that this is the first time that we've done these tests, and so it is meant to be a baseline and not necessarily looking at, does that mean the school is successful or not, or the school district. Even the state superintendent of public instruction said this is the first time these scores are coming out. We don't expect them to be pretty. And so, ours weren't necessarily as pretty as another district, but again, we're not supposed to be comparing to other districts. I think it is a priority to make sure that our students have, especially in kindergarten through 2nd grade, access to the technology they're going to be using when they start the tests in 3rd grade, because we don't want them sitting down at the tests for the first time trying to figure out how to use a keyboard. And our district has been doing a good job of that, and I want to make sure that that continues, that our students have access to that technology.
Okay, the next question, Yolanda, why don't you take it first, and then we'll come around to Janet and then Dennis. When all the apartments under construction now in Redwood City are completed, it's possible there will be new students. Do we have enough class space to accommodate them?
Well, this was a very informative question, and I was listening the other day, and they stated that our our attendance rate, our enrollment rate is pretty stable right now. We're not sure who's going to move into these new apartments. A lot of them, people believe they're millenniums who don't have children. Right at this time, we do have a lot of work in the facilities. The charter schools are taking up some space, but we do believe that we will have enough to accommodate the students. And unfortunately, we just don't know because we don't know how many kids will be in the buildings.
Well, I think you're just going to hear across the board that, yes, we do have space for them currently. We're looking at 7 to 10 years. There's space, but we need to keep an eye on who is moving into these apartments because we don't know. We can't make guesses whether or not there's going to be kids. Let's keep an eye on it and make sure that we're planning ahead for them and that we can make space for them if that's needed.
So every 3 years, we have a demographer do a study so we can stay current as a district. And the last study says that we do have enough classrooms, but it's partly because we're losing students that are actually having to leave the area because their parents can't afford to live here. So we have the people are buying these or renting these new apartments, but we also have a lot of families that are having to move to Modesto, the Central Valley, or Seattle. But with that said, the demographer has history that says there's like 1.2 children per apartment, or I think it's 0.7 actually per apartment, which I'd love to know where that kid lives. Based on that, we should be okay. And we also have a Measure T bond on the November ballot that will actually add some classrooms as well as modernize and allow us to have 21st century classrooms.
The next one, Janet, you go first and then down the line. This question is, what is your top priority for Redwood City schools for the next 4 years? I think it's 4 or it's few. I can't tell, but either way. 4 years is your
I would say a top priority for me is making sure that our students are reading at grade level by the end of 2nd grade. That is a huge goal and is really important because that's what's going to determine how successful they are in high school and beyond. I think that it's important to focus on early learning and pre-K to make sure that they have that baseline when they're entering kindergarten, to make sure that they are able to read at grade level so that they are able to learn, they're first learning to read and then from there they read to learn. So they're reading in order to learn their information from 3rd grade and beyond.
I think it's more than one, because one kind of implies you can just do one thing and forget everything else. I mean, the first thing that just kind of overarches everything is students have to be safe. So they have to feel safe and they have to be safe. We have to do more preschool. I can walk into a classroom on the first day of kindergarten and I can separate the class visually by who's had quality preschool and who hasn't had preschool. We're really focusing on reading. We've said we're going to get every child to grade level by 3rd grade, and that's so important. We're in the midst of doing Common Core implementation. We're in year 3, and the legislature and everybody thinks you can just say, let's do Common Core, and 5 minutes later you have Common Core and it's all good. And when I talk to the teachers, we're about 30% of the way through there, so we have to make sure we do that with fidelity. And then a really big one is we have to attract and retain our wonderful staff, and that's teachers and classified, because right now we typically are training wonderful teachers coming out of college. We have very senior teachers, and they're going to other districts, because we're a revenue limit district, and they can go to a basic aid district and get paid $20,000 more a year. And there's 100 basic aid districts in the state, and unfortunately 21 of them are right in San Mateo County, so we're like plunked right in the middle of it. So we have to kind of take all that to make sure that we're providing a quality education to our students.
Hi. Yes, I would hope that we would go with class size reduction. I think if we could reduce the class sizes in the kindergarten classes and the 1st grade classes, which is the foundation when children start school, it would be a much more nurturing environment. I would also like to see our libraries used more. I would like to see our libraries open in the morning and open after school, so children who don't have technology at home have the ability to use the resources that we have at school and have a safe place to study. I would also like to have an emphasis on not only children learning to read, but us reading to children. I think it's very important that children are read to. You see the joy in them when you tell them a story. I also thought we need more preschools, starting at the age 3. Even if we did a staggered session where some children came to school 2 days a week and others came to 3, and we rotated on a basis, we would still reach out to have more children have a preschool experience, which they all say is it's so beneficial for children when they start school.
Okay. Thank you. Dennis, would you be first this time, and Yolanda, and then Janet? There is currently a teacher shortage, which will probably only get worse. How would you deal with this?
This isn't the one you want to be first on. Yeah, there is a teacher shortage. We probably had 50 teachers leave at the end of the year, and we had to hire 50 teachers. And this was the first year in my 12 years where we actually started school with probably about 6 openings that we didn't fill, and it's just too expensive to live here. And I actually sit on the San Mateo Community College housing board, and I got on that so I could look at what they're doing for housing for teachers and staff. And I think this community kind of is a little schizophrenic, because we say we don't want any additional building, and we don't want any high rises, and we want everybody to be able to live and be here. And those just are competing things. And so I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to think outside the box. So I think redevelopment went away, but I think that was not really that effective. They'd throw in like 4 low-income housing or moderate-income housing, and they'd build a whole bunch. And I think we're going to have to think about looking at spaces and saying maybe the 2 sides of the main library, there are parking lots. We do 3 levels of parking, and then we put housing there. We need to think about maybe for an office building, instead of being 6 stories, it's 12 stories. And the last 6 stories, if my math is correct, is housing. So I think we're going to have to kind of challenge all the kind of beliefs and rules. And it's a big issue. And it's not just an issue for teachers. It's an issue for our families. We have families, that are homeless. We have people living in cars. Everybody wants to make it be it's a classified or it's a teacher, but it's actually a community, and it's bigger than the Redwood City School District. I know there is a county-wide task force on housing that is trying to look at this, but I think we're going to really have to violate some of our preconceived notions to solve this.
I don't think I even like being second on this question. I think that we need to support our teachers in every way we can. There are a lot of options, and we have to be creative in how we're going to help them. We can look at, they have ads like for HIP housing, where we can help them do shared housing. I think we have to just be really creative. And not only that, in their jobs, and we have a lot of probationary teachers or temporary teachers that come. We do give them training and mentoring, and we want them to feel secure and confident, and we want them to make Redwood City their home. I know that there are older teachers that sometimes leave the school district for perhaps more lucrative positions, but we want to make sure that with those older teachers know how much we appreciate them and the job they've done for us, and we want them to stay here with us. As for the housing issue, I talk to parents every day. Their distressed apartments are going, 1-bedroom apartments on Middlefield Road are going for $23.85 a month. It's hard for everyone. It's hard for all of us. So I'm hoping that we'll get some money, and perhaps we could raise salaries, and that would be a nice thing. Thank you.
I think aside from the cost of living here driving people away, the teacher shortage is a national problem that we have right now. And I think that this is a conversation we need to have on a bigger level. Why do we have fewer people becoming educators, and what can we do to incentivize people to enter the teaching profession? I don't think it's something that the Redwood City School District can solve, but I would love to be a part of that conversation on what we can do to get more people going into that field, because it is something that we're dealing with as a state and as a country. So.
The next question would be Yolanda first, and then Janet, and then Dennis. This is question. It sounds like there is opportunity to increase the use of technology in the classroom, but there is always the challenge of limited resources. Can you discuss your plan on this subject? And in two different ways, short term for the next year and long term for the next 5 years.
Whoa. I understand now that we did just recently got a grant or a donation, and all the teachers received new computers. I think it's a task that we have to look at. I know that the Redwood City School District has done an excellent job partnering with technology. I know that they partner with Facebook, and they've received money from them, and they've bought as much hardware and as much technology as possible. So I'm just looking at facilities, and I'm looking at parents who can help us fundraise and get this kind of equipment for the students that we need. Looking at it in a range of 5 years, I don't know what technology will look like in 5 years. I'm amazed at it now, that you can take a phone to the park with you, that you can do these kind of things. So in 5 years, I can't imagine. It might be something as simple as desks are computers. They're on the walls everywhere. So I really don't know about that, but I know that with this board and the people at this school district, I know that we will work hard to make sure our children have the equipment and technology they need to be successful.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Okay. It sounds like there's an opportunity to increase the use of technology in the classroom, but there is always the challenge of limited resources. Can you discuss your plan on this subject? Short term for this next upcoming year, long term the next 5 years.
I think our students do have access to technology, and as a classroom volunteer, I definitely see that they're using technology in the classroom every day. I think with grants that we've gotten and funding from parent groups and money from the district as well, our students are getting fair access to that technology and being able to use it. The teachers can use it in their classroom lessons. Technology goes out of date. It's something that we need to keep watching. Are their Chromebooks, do they need to be updated? Are their iPads still working? I can tell you at our school, there's a TV in every classroom, but not a single one works because they're out of date. So it's just a matter of making sure that we keep funding set aside so that we can keep increasing the technology as things change. And I think that we've already done a really good job of that, and it's something that I would want to see continue.
So if you, for a little bit of history, if you went back 3 years ago, we had 8 students for every 1 device. And I compare that with Menlo Park, that each student has their own personal device. Right now, we're at about 3 students per device. So in the last 3 years, we've made significant progress. And that progress has come because we've gone out to funders like Startup Education, which is the Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan Foundation, and they gave us a little over $1 million. Just last week, I was meeting with another foundation talking about another donation for some more equipment. We also have PTAs that are donating Google carts, and a Google cart's 30 Google machines that sit in a cart and are plugged in. You can roll them from classroom to classroom. We just did a refresh of all of our Mac laptops, or I guess they're called PowerBooks, for teachers. So they're now using current technology. And up until about May of this year, they were using laptops that were like 6, 7, 8 years old. So the issue is you're always trading off. You're trading everything off. When you have scarce resource, you want to pay your teachers well, you want to pay your staff well, because that helps attract and retain. And then you have these huge technology bubbles. We also apply for federal money. There's money called ERAF, and we were able to do about $1 million worth of upgrades to the infrastructure about 2 years ago, and then ERAF ended, and now they're talking about bringing it back. So we're always out talking to partners and foundations and anybody that has money, trying to make sure we can get as much for our students as possible.
Now, this is where I get confused about who comes next. Yolanda, you would speak first. Is this correct? Aye on this one? No, it would be Janet. Janet is first, okay. And then Dennis, and then Yolanda, so I am keeping track. Are there any special programs for foster children in Redwood City schools?
That's a really good question, and I think there's only one person who really can answer that really well. But I can tell you, we, in our district, I believe we only have 12 foster youth. He knows that better than I do. But we send, I believe, 70% of, in San Mateo County, of our foster youth to other counties because we don't have enough foster homes. So the county and the school district don't have a huge number of them because of our lack of foster homes. I can't tell you what programs are in place for foster youth right now.
So, so the first thing everybody has to understand is they don't come with a big F on their forehead. So, and I'm not saying that lightly. I mean, I think it's a huge, huge problem. But there's a lot of families that don't declare that they're foster kids, and so if you don't know, but if they are foster kids, there is a bunch of counseling that goes on, and there's wraparound services for them. And again, given that we don't know exactly how many, the last count I got was about 55, and you're always trying to make sure they're in the classroom and they're not separate, or anybody can kind of figure it out, because you don't want any kids to have the stigma. But they're mostly they're mainstreamed in the classroom, obviously. I mean, they walk in just like any other kid, and you typically don't know. Some parents will come and they'll say, you know, I have a foster child, and I need certain things, and if they need that, we provide it. But a lot of kids come in, and you wouldn't know they're a foster kid because they just look like my kid or your kid.
And I'm sorry, I can only speak from my own experience as a school office manager. When people register their students, I'm very nosy. I check everything out. If the last names don't match, I kind of do some research, and when their cum folders come in from other schools, I'm the first ones that will get them, and I will go through them to see if they are foster youth or what the situation is, because it's always fascinating to me when children's names don't always match. I know that the community schools have community centers at the schools, that we make sure that these children's needs are met. If they need backpacks or school supplies, we always can go to them, and it's confidential, and these children are always given these kind of things. At Christmas, we also do, they're not big things, but at Christmas we try to get these children and these students and do wish lists for them to see what they may need or want for Christmas. They're not big programs, and like Dennis said, not all the children really want to share that. But I do my best as the person who is the greeter for the new students to make sure that people are aware of these children's living situations.
And the next question, Dennis will speak first, then Yolanda, and then Janet. You have a majority Latino school district, 72%. How should Latino parents interpret the achievement gap?
Well, the first thing I would say is there is an achievement gap, and I think it goes all the way back to day one. And in my example is in Redwood City, 72% of the district is Latino. Typically, I think our free and reduced lunch is about 67%. So 67% of those students are a family of four living on $42,000 or less, which is just unimaginable. And and so those kids start out not having the same experiences. So my example is my son at 6 months went to Mexico on vacation. At a year, he went to Hawaii. And he had a mom that was a special ed teacher staying home with him. And these other families, the parents worked 2-3 jobs. So my child had the benefit of a very diverse experience in terms of what he could see, what he could experience, and he had somebody there full time. So there's a whole bunch of issues wrapped up in that. The Latino parents love their kids just as much. If I go to events, they're jostling with their cameras and they care about their kids. I think the most encouraging thing is, I mentioned earlier, we had 750 students that were reclassified as English language learners, and those were all the way from 1st grade to 7th grade. And just on the SBAC test, those students did as well as the Caucasians in those upper income families. So it points out that the programs we're using are closing the achievement gap. We have community schools that are typically in the neighborhoods that have the most poverty, and that those schools provide a lot of services to try to compensate for that. So they have health, they have counseling. There's a whole wide variety of services that actually any parent in Redwood City can use, but it tends to be at that school. And I think the biggest thing we can do is have more preschool and get the kids reading by 3rd grade. And the other thing I would say really quickly is 12 years ago, I think there was a sense of these kids had a hard life. Had a really good point.
I apologize, I'm losing my voice. I always looked at the students that spoke Spanish or had a second language as really very successful because they're learning 2 languages. They're being tested in a language that is unfamiliar to them. I don't ever want to put myself in that situation. So I try to explain to parents, you need to work a little bit harder with them. But you have to understand they're going into a school that they're a language that they don't know. And yet they're managing to be successful, to make friends. They're learning a social language. What happens is the children learn very quickly a social language. And sometimes you almost think they're fluent because they're so good at it. But that academic language is something that we need to work on and emphasize. And parents, we need to, ask parents, they need to read to their children, support their children, come to school events, find out what they can do. And we need to provide those services as that's parents coming to school at night, using the technology we have to make sure that these children are successful. But I always look at them and I say, you know what, they speak 2 languages.
I think it's really important to look at our 65% of students that are living at the poverty level and making sure that we are supporting them both at their mental health, their social health, their emotional health. That's the only way that they're going to be successful in school, is if their needs are being met all around. And it's also really important for us to look at our parent engagement level. And, the students are only going to be successful if their parents are engaged in their education and making sure that they help their student to succeed. And we already have some really fantastic models and programs that are showing success in that area. And I think it's really important to keep those programs up. And the community school model, if we can increase that to other schools, would be really important too, because we do have schools in our district that are, they have 65% students living in poverty and don't have that community school model. So if we can expand those to make sure that all of our students have access to those and keep doing the job that we're doing, I think we've already shown that it's successful. So.
This is the 8th and final question, in case you're wondering how many are left to go. And let's see, we'd have Yolanda Padilla speak first, and then Janet Lawson, and then Dennis McBride. And then we'll go into the closing statements. And we'll do those in the reverse of how you started, with your opening statements. Question 8. What are your plans, if any, for expanding pre-K?
Well, I thought about it. I actually have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I can't tell you the magic of a child learning. When you see them learn and you see the lights go on, and it's so much fun. It's just it's such a joy. So I'm hoping that, as I said before, I really think it's imperative that we have more preschools available for students, even if we do it on, like I said, even if you attend 2 days of school a week and 2 days the next week. Parents aren't having their children in preschool 5 days because they're paying for it, and it's very expensive. So I know that if we could implement these programs for our children, and if it's a half day in the morning and we do it half day in the afternoon, if we do Saturday play groups, if we show parents how to set up play groups, I can't tell you the joy and fun I have at the park every day. I meet with 6 children. When they say to me, "I love you, Yolanda," I know that bringing the bubbles and the chalk, these are things that we can teach parents. I'm learning again as a grandmother to be a better parent. So I'm hoping that we can pass that on to our new parents and our younger parents, with having older parents mentor younger parents too and help them be successful, because it's not an easy job.
Yeah, I think it's critical that we expand our pre-K, not just here at our district, but across the nation. I think that, I've already stated that I think it's really important that everybody have access to pre-K programs. As a board member, I would be involved at the county level and at the state level to make sure that we get adequate funding for that, and that they provide our young birth to 5-year-olds with the education that they need to be successful. So that's something I'm committed to, is not just sitting around looking at our own funding and figuring out what can we do with that to make it work, but also advocating and lobbying our elected leaders to make sure that they help us provide for these kids.
So I actually sit on Assemblymember Mullen and Senator Hill's Education Subcommittee, and I lobby all the time with them to see if they can get more money. And what's interesting is that they will come back thinking they've given us gobs of money, and when you explain that you didn't give us gobs of money, they're pretty shocked. The issue, and I hate to say this because it sounds terrible, the issue is you're always trading everything off. We have increased our pre-Ks. We're probably double what we were, I would say, 8 years ago. But we have 2 different kinds. We have subsidized, where we have parents that are low income and they get state funding and then they pay a small portion. And then we have what I'd call unsubsidized, where the parents pay the full amount. And we are looking at expanding it, but we will reach a point where we will run into a facilities issue, because for pre-K classes you have to have them be larger than a regular classroom. And all of our kindergarten classes aren't quite right either, because you have to have bathrooms for the kids right in the classroom, and so I can't put them right in a regular classroom. So hopefully with the Measure W, there is discussions about reconfiguring kindergarten classes and TKs, but it is important, and it just, at the end of the day, it comes down to priorities, and you're trying to be Solomon. Like, do I say, no, you don't get a raise because I'm going to go add some pre-K classes, or do I do some blend? And so we're all in this kind of behind the curve. So just one little quick statistic. When I got on the board in 2003, we had about 88 million. We had about actually $90 million and 8,000 students. We now have 9,000 students and just about the same amount. So the problem is we just don't have enough money to do all the things we know we need to do, which I know sounds terrible.
Thank you all very much. And now we'll go for the closing statements.
In closing, I just want to say that my heart is here with the children of the Redwood City School District. Mi corazón está aquí. I also want to say that I believe that with community, parents, families, children, that we can ensure that every child that is entrusted to us leaves Redwood City School District with the best education possible, to offer them a rewarding and prosperous future. And in the great words of Frederick Douglass, it is easier to build a strong child than to repair a broken man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Go in reverse.
I'm always two.
No,
I should be able to do
now
that math.
Now we're opening and closing statements.
All right,
in
yes.
reverse.
Yeah, thank you. First, let me start with a quote that captures why I am so passionate about education. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. I grew up poor. Now, at the time I thought I was poor, but looking at children today, I actually grew up fairly wealthy. I have the commitment, the dedication, and most importantly, 12 years experience during very trying financial times. I have a proven track record of being able to make tough decisions compassionately. So what will my experience buy you? The ability to work collaboratively with elected officials at the city, county, state, and federal level as advocates for our children. The proven track record of working with teachers, staff, and parents. An open door to listen to your needs and those of your children and the community at large. It is very important to elect leaders that have a proven track record of being involved in caring advocates for our children. I have the support of teachers and parents and have been described as highly effective, energetic, supportive, compassionate, sympathetic, and empathetic to teachers, staff, and students. I have over 250 endorsements from all over the community. The significance of that is I have all these people that I can go to get help. I have connections. So here's my promise to you. I will continue to ensure students feel safe and are safe as they learn. All students are academically challenged. We attract and retain the best and brightest teachers and staff. We remain financially solvent so the state does not take us over. We will spend our money wisely. We will continue to implement the Common Core state standards with fidelity. And there's a lot more to do, and I am committed and excited to continue the progress we've made. I respectfully ask for your vote so I can continue to serve the children and families of the Redwood City School District. For more information about me, please go to www.dennismcbride.org. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Redwood City School District for hosting this.
I just want to say, first of all, that I believe that we have a responsibility to all of our children here, not just in our district, but everywhere, to advocate for them and to be their cheerleaders and their champions. And I am committed to that and to the students of our district. I am the only candidate that has children in the school district, and that would make me the only board member that has children in the school district. So I have a really unique view into the classroom and the needs of the teachers and the students in that way. I am a small business owner also, and so I would bring to the board the ability to think critically and to bring creative and fresh ideas. And I believe that, our education system is changing, and it's really important that we have somebody there that can think creatively with the new, Common Core and the new funding formula. I'm also supported by state and city and education leaders, and I already have a great rapport with them and a good relationship, and look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to serve alongside these leaders and to work collaboratively with our education and city leaders here. So thank you very much for having us, and you can connect with me at janetlawson.org.
I want to thank the candidates so much, knowing how much you have to do to be here this evening. And even though we have been videotaped, we're not sure when it's going to be on, but those of you in the audience, and you can tell people, more importantly, you can tell people that they ought to be able to see this, but we're not sure how, where, or when. The best I've been able to ascertain is that people in a few days might go to YouTube, but nothing, and I mean this, for if anybody's watching this on their computer, nothing beats being in the room with the candidates, being able to talk to them before and after, and really be participating hands-on here. So if you are watching this on your computer, be sure to show up next time with your body in a seat at these candidates' forum. We thank you. We also say, for those of you who want any more information on the election, go to www.smartvoter.org. Thank you.